When it comes to the Gran Turismo series, voiceover may not be what you think of, but there have been several occasions where voiceover has been utilised within the Gran Turismo games, and in this video we are going to be looking at these occasions, and also the people who lent their voices to the Gran Turismo games, as some of the casting choices are more fitting than you might think. The only rule for this video is that we are sticking with voiceover performances that are found in the games. Not any kind of adverts, live events, or other events where voice acting has been used outside of the games. And also, while we will be touching briefly on other languages, the main focus of this video is the English voiceover performances. And I keep saying we, but who is we? Well, my sister has returned to this channel for the first time in years to help me narrate this video.
Yes, that's right. Hi, I'm Evelyn, and as Saul said, I previously recorded videos for him back in the early days of this channel. And because this video topic has never been done before, information for it at times was very hard to come by. But together we brought you all the information we can find. So grab a drink and a snack and strap yourself in because it's gonna be a long ride.
Yes, it will be. Now, this intro is dragging on, so Evie, shall we?
We shall.
Let's get started!
Interestingly, the first instance of voiceover takes place in a spin-off game, released in 2003 in Japan and 2004 in Korea and Europe. Gran Turismo 4 Prologue offered players a peek into what was to come in the full release of Gran Turismo 4, with new tracks, cars and graphics. But in order to unlock the new cars, players would have to complete challenges in the driving school. The driving school had challenges that were very similar to the license tests we'd come to know. And when you'd select a driving challenge, you would be greeted to this.
Welcome to the first lesson of Gran Turismo 4, Prologue. This lesson takes place on the beginner's course in the driving park, a short circuit designed for racing practice. For this lesson, take 2 relaxed laps around the course. The engine of the car has been limited to enable a maximum speed of just 50 km per hour. The time limit is very generous, so this is your chance to take a nice slow drive without concern for the remaining time or your driving speed. What you must concentrate on, however, is staying on the track, so make sure you do, no matter how slowly you need to drive to do it. If you go off the track, you'll be disqualified. Just think of it as a Sunday drive. You'll see a line indicating the smoothest route displayed on the road surface. If you follow this line, you can get a feel for the correct racing line, a vital technique in circuit racing. While driving, take time to consider what makes that particular line the ideal one. Take careful note of the timing and severity of the corners, and learn how to take corners correctly without spinning. As a general rule, your steering should be gradual and minimal. Good luck with the lesson.
Yes. Each of the license tests are fully narrated, accompanied by the Gran Turismo 3 License Center music. In English, the voiceover is provided by Vicki Butler-Henderson. Vicki Butler-Henderson is a British racing driver and also a television presenter, appearing on Top Gear from 1994 until 2001 when the show was cancelled, only to be revived into the series many of us knew from 2002. After leaving Top Gear, Vicki has been a presenter on 5th Gear from 2002 until the present day. Having someone narrate the lesson guides who is genuinely interested in cars, as well as having a background in presenting, made perfect sense. Vicki delivers her lines with a driving instructor vibe, often ending with a good luck with the lesson or something similar. Now interestingly, Gran Turismo 4 Prologue was never released in America in full capacity, so America never got their first experience of voiceover in Gran Turismo 4 Prologue, or not even in Gran Turismo 4, as only Japan would be treated to voiceover in the full release.
Now if you've watched my regional differences in Gran Turismo 4 video, then you'll know how wrong I got this next part. But thank you to everyone in the comments who helped steer me on the right path, so this next part can be more accurate. Gran Turismo 4 released in 2004 in Japan and 2005 worldwide. Often considered the best Gran Turismo game, it had many changes between international releases. But possibly the biggest change was the removal of an entire feature from international releases. As in the Japanese version's time trial mode, during the replay, you can change it to play a narration. This narration is recorded by Japanese voice actor Junichi Suwabe. Personally, I know his voice from roles like Archer in Fate or Aurelius Clover from Blaze Blue. Junichi's role in Gran Turismo 4 is to narrate the specs of each car. These specs appear as information that scrolls along the bottom of the screen while purchasing a car. In worldwide versions, this was removed and the bottom of the screen is just black. I know it would be a very long and arduous task having to dub Junichi's voice into all the different languages Gran Turismo 4 was translated into, and especially on the PAL disc that already has 5 languages saved on it. So with all those audio files, that would be a lot of memory on the disc, probably too much. So I guess that's why narration only appeared in the Japanese version. It was done as a test, an interesting idea, but was never realised outside of Japan. But anyway, let's take a listen to this feature and hear Junichi's voice in-game.
Audi RS6 は、アウディのアッパーミドルサルーンである A6 から生まれたスポーツモデル S6 を、アウディの子会社であるクワトロ社がさらにチューニングした超ド級のハイパフォーマンスモデルだ。デビューしたのは2002年のジュネーブショーである。ハイパフォーマンスな S6 をさらに鍛えたスーパーモデルではあるが、RS6 のエクステリアは予想以上にあっさりしている。前後フェンダーはホイールアーチ部分が張り出し、車高も30ミリほど低められているが、派手な空力パーツなどは一切ない。唯一 25540R18 というファットな標準タイヤが過剰すぎるパワーを表現している。インテリアもオリジナルの A6 に極めて近い。RS6 をアピールしているのは、ブラック基調でまとめられたダッシュボード周りと、レカロ製スポーツレザーシート、ステアリングに備わるエンブレムくらいだろうか。搭載されるパワーユニットは、4.2 リッターの V 型8気筒 DOHC で、もちろん、アウディお得意の5バルブテクノロジーが注ぎ込まれたもの。これにツインターボを組み合わせた最高出力は450馬力、最大トルク 57.1kgm という凄まじいものだ。組み合わされるトランスミッションは意外にもティプトロニック付きの5速 AT のみである。シャシーにはダイナミックライドコントロールというシステムが採用されている。これは日本のヤマハが開発し、トヨタスープラなどに使われたリアスシステムの発展版だ。前後4つのダンパーを X 状につなぎ、高次元な接地特性を得ようという足回りである。1900キロにも達するヘビー級モデルだが、0-100キロ加速は 4.9 秒とスーパーカー並み。ブレーキもこの車重を考慮した8ピストンキャリパーをフロントに備える。獰猛な牙を控えめなエクステリアで包んだアウディ史上最強の市販モデルである。
I'm sure many will agree that this would have been a great feature to have outside of Japan. And it's weird that they completely scrapped the information in the dealerships altogether. But even though us outside of Japan got no voiceover in Gran Turismo 4, Polyphony weren't done with voiceover just yet.
Gran Turismo PSP released simultaneously worldwide in 2009, being the first Gran Turismo game on a handheld console. And although you might not expect a PSP game to be revolutionary, when you boot up Gran Turismo PSP for the first time, you are treated to this.
We recommend that you first visit the driving challenge to hone your driving skills.
This is the voice of Jay Leno, who many people will be familiar with Jay as a former host of the American show The Tonight Show. Jay also made a few appearances on Top Gear. In Season 12, Episode 7, when James May was driving the hydrogen-powered Honda Clarity. And they star in the reasonably priced car for Season 13, Episode 6. Jay has actually done a lot of voiceover work, primarily character work. I personally know him best for his cameo in the first Disney Pixar Cars movie, where he voiced a car version of himself called Jay Leno.
I don't know what's harder to find, Lightning McQueen or crew chief who'll work with him.
Going back to Gran Turismo, Jay's voice for Gran Turismo PSP is used in a lot more ways than any we have seen so far. Jay's voice is used, as we heard, for introducing the player to the game for the first time, as well as for the
Ready? Start!
and
Finished!
when racing. But like in Gran Turismo 4 Prologue, Jay narrates all of the driving challenge demonstrations for Gran Turismo PSP.
This first challenge measures your acceleration and braking ability. Accelerate as hard as possible when prompted, and then bring the car to a complete stop inside the marked zone 100 meters ahead. Finish within the target time to earn game credits and trophies. You'll need to correctly judge how much time and pavement it'll take to stop the car effectively. Use the various signs and markers as your braking point. This will help you judge the distance needed to come to a complete stop.
After a challenge block is complete, a congratulations message is shown, narrated by Jay, prompting the player to move on to the next block.
Congratulations! You have completed Challenge Group A. You can now move on to Challenge Group B, or if you feel up to it, go straight to Challenge Group C.
Overall, Jay's voice is very chill and conversational, which really fits well, considering there's so many of the driving challenges to complete. It really encourages you to go at your own pace. But I will say the start and finish are honestly amazing. The energy for them is perfect. Now, it's probably important to mention that Jay Leno only provides narration for the American version of Gran Turismo PSP. Outside America, worldwide versions had their voiceover performed by women, which of course also includes the English PAL version.
Welcome to the world of Gran Turismo. First, try the driving challenges to hone your driving skills.
Yes, that's right. We're not quite finished with Gran Turismo PSP just yet. As for the English PAL version for the UK and most likely Australia too, Jay Leno's voice was replaced by a woman. And clearly from the voice, it's not Vicki Butler-Henderson. So, who is it? Well, Gran Turismo PSP doesn't actually have a voiceover credit section. But if we take a look at the credits, Jay Leno's name is listed under special thanks in the American version. And if we look at the English PAL credits, we can see a list of names. And one of them is the woman we are looking for, Sophia Raafat. Now, there isn't really much information on Sophia Raafat from looking her up, especially anything she has done recently in media. She seems to be the most private person out of everyone we have looked at so far. And while this is an information video, we're going to respect her privacy and look only for information that's readily available. So, from what we did find, Sophia Raafat seems to have had an early career as a model before moving over to television as a presenter. The only videos we could find of her from that time is her appearance on the former television shopping program Bid Up TV. So let's listen to her narrate a driving challenge and then compare it with her on Bid Up TV.
Attempt to overtake opponents on the Fuji Speedway home straight. The key to success here is the use of slipstreams. When driving behind an opponent, air resistance is reduced and as a result your car will increase speed. This effect is known as the slipstream. Once you are in the slipstream and your car's speed is increased, time your slipstream exit carefully and you can overtake your opponent.
We're back in auction, of course. Now, of course, that's a lot of courses. Now, while you were away, I can tell you the bidding action has moved quite rapidly. £76 now is where we've moved to. 74 and below, of course, you need to put up. 75 is where you're in danger. 317 is what you'd expect to pay for this. If you were looking on the high street, we're going to go nowhere near that, but I'd love to see more than 76 on screen. There are only 3 of these up for grabs. 0906 584 0010 is the number to dial while you're placing your bids. 76 is holding. Let's find.
It's quite clearly the same voice. Sophia also worked at the Chicken Shed Theatre in London, performing in shows for children. There's plenty of pictures of her online, and her presenting style is energetic and engaging. Yet her voice acting for Gran Turismo is the complete opposite. It's more in the style of text-to-speech. While she does have a little character to it, the primary tone is something more like an information guide. And on a final note, there's a bit of distortion or something with Sophia's voice, like a pitch shift or something, as in the earlier challenge blocks her voice sounds like this.
Learn acceleration and braking. Accelerate and come to a complete stop in the stopping area 100 meters ahead. Where you start braking is very important in this challenge. Use signs indicating distance and other markers on the road to time where you apply full braking.
It's fine on later blocks, but there was definitely some kind of audio mishap there. Sophia also narrates the congratulations messages for completing each challenge block.
Congratulations! All challenges have been completed. You can now view the ending movie, and new bonus challenges have been added. Try your skill on these advanced level challenges.
But she does not narrate the start and finish. That's still Jay Leno. But we are finally finished with this section. Who'd have thought a PSP game of all things would take up such a large portion of the video? Then again, we were dealing with multiple people, and so Gran Turismo 5 decided to take that idea and do an endurance race with it.
Gran Turismo 5 released in November of 2010, marking the official start of the HD era in a mainline Gran Turismo game. Polyphony really threw a lot at Gran Turismo 5, including much higher quality car models, a track editor, and unique special events that incorporated different types of racing disciplines. Which is where we'll be starting off, as for the first time we thankfully have actual voiceover credits. Unfortunately, only the names are listed and not where the voices are used. So it's up to us to do some detective work, and thankfully for some of the names, we got actual in-game models of the people. The quality is debatable, but let's start off with the Jeff Gordon NASCAR School. NASCAR was one of the new driving disciplines added to Gran Turismo 5, returning in Gran Turismo 6. Daytona and Indianapolis were used as the two main tracks for NASCAR racing, but as NASCAR is a racing discipline unfamiliar to many of us outside of the US, having a dedicated mode to helping players get to grips with the basics makes sense. And of course, who better to have as your driving coach than an actual NASCAR driver? And Jeff Gordon was that selected driver. Jeff opens up his appearance in Gran Turismo 5 with an opening movie where he details what NASCAR is all about. So let's check out Jeff's cutscene.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gordon, professional NASCAR driver. I'm here to teach you driving techniques that are very special to NASCAR racing. NASCAR is a race series with a lot of history, having started back in 1947. Though they're still called stock cars, today's NASCAR race cars are built on steel tube frames. NASCAR regulations require the car to be 3,400 pounds, which is kind of heavy for a competition racing car, but because of this, driving techniques for NASCAR require that much more precision, care, and finesse. The engine is a 358 cubic inch carbureted overhead valve V8. Now just hearing this, it might sound like old technology to you. But that's really not the case. Even though these NASCAR engines are OHV, they rev up to 10,000 RPM. Any engine expert would know that this requires the same level of technology as an F1 racing, which has double overhead cam engines revving up to 20,000 RPM. The transmission is a 4-speed. That's why you have to select the gear ratios to match each track. This setup of gear ratios is very important. In NASCAR, there's less difference in the performance of each race car, as compared to other categories of racing. That's why just a slight difference in the settings or the difference in driver skill can lead to winning or losing. Most NASCAR races are on an oval track. Though an oval track is very simple in shape, it's that very shape that makes it require unique driving techniques. One of the first things you'll need to learn is drafting in other people's slipstreams. The closer that you get to the car in front of you, the more you reduce aerodynamic drag of your car to overtake your opponents. Drafting is a technique that is of course required in all kinds of racing, but on an oval track, it becomes crucial. Because there are no low-speed corners, you can draft at any time. But remember, the better the draft, the less the downforce. Enough with the talking, let's get you into the car. You ready to drive? I'll see you on the track.
Jeff also will start the player in the same vein as Jay Leno and congratulate them on crossing the line.
Ready? That was some great driving.
However, data mining shows that Jeff was actually supposed to have a much larger role in the game, as there are a lot of data mine clips that go unused in Gran Turismo 5. We'll scroll down them now on screen and have a few playing in the background, with a link in the video description to the cutting room floor page where you can view these clips for yourself.
I'm really excited about NASCAR being in Gran Turismo because that means that our cars can be driven on tracks in Europe and Asia, which obviously doesn't happen in real life. I'm excited about NASCAR being in Gran Turismo because that means that our cars can be driven on tracks in Europe and Asia, which obviously doesn't happen in real life. Good luck, buddy.
All right, let's go. Now you can pass me. The next step is using your drafting skill with multiple cars. Go outside. Don't try to steer too much because it'll slow you down. Oops. You're pushing. You want to get right up to the outer wall. You turned in too early. This next challenge is to race against my previous run. Whoa! Whoa! Careful. Take it nice and easy. Be a bit more careful on the pedal. Looking good. Not too shabby. Steady.
All right, now I'll be the spotter and you drive.
White flag. Take it easy. Great move. Stick with the car in front of you. Keep low. Still inside. Dodge! Dodge! Watch it. Pits are open next time by. Pit, 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 pit. Clear all the way out. 4 wide. They're wrecking behind you. They're wrecking behind you. Good job, man. Car spinning ahead. Ouch. That's a pretty bad crash. That was smooth with very few mistakes. What the? Hey, you're pretty quick. Hey, show a little respect, buddy. I'm a NASCAR champion. Floor it. Brakes. 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 What's your problem? Man, are you nuts?
Now, Jeff has had other voice acting roles, but I mainly know him as the voice and likeness of Jeff Gorvette in the Disney Pixar Cars series, with Jeff voicing himself in Cars 2 the movie and the video game, as well as a small cameo in Cars 3.
Oh, stack up. Oh, I think we're in for a treat today. These racers have... hey, McQueen! Win one for us old guys.
Next up, we have the Sebastian Loeb Rally Challenge, a set of 3 rally time trials to beat, driving the Citroen C4 WRC. The car Sebastian Loeb drove. Sebastian Loeb is a French rally driver, the most successful WRC driver of all time. Sebastian's voice is only used for the intro cutscene to the challenge, in which he speaks French. Let's have a listen.
Ce que j'aime vraiment en rallye, moi, c'est que contrairement au circuit, c'est très varié. On roule sur différentes surfaces, on roule sur de la terre, sur de l'asphalte, sur de la neige. Les conditions d'adhérence sont changeantes. Comme on ne connaît pas forcément la piste, on a besoin de beaucoup plus d'improvisation dans le pilotage et d'anticipation. Donc en plus, il faut avoir vraiment des styles de pilotage différents suivant les terrains, il faut s'adapter. Et c'est ce qui fait que je trouve que le rallye est vraiment très varié et on ne s'en lasse jamais.
Even if it's only a short extract, it's still really cool to have. Events themed around a person make them a whole lot more interesting, and having the actual person contribute to it too just makes it all the better. And although Sebastian may not have done any other voiceover, Raoul Saoul in Cars 2 is based off of Sebastian Loeb's Citroen C4, but sadly in the French dub, Sebastian did not voice Raoul. This video is turning into a bit of a Gran Turismo Disney Pixar crossover video. The final real-life person to be included in Gran Turismo 5 is Sebastian Vettel, with the Sebastian Vettel X Challenge. Sebastian Vettel is a German Formula 1 driver who is now retired, I believe, and like the Jeff and Sebastian Loeb's challenge, Sebastian Vettel's challenge also opens up with an intro cutscene. So let's roll the tape!
Hi, my name is Sebastian Vettel. I'm a professional race driver here to introduce you to a really cool car that exists only in the world of Gran Turismo. The car is a bit strange and futuristic. Sort of like a cross between a Formula racer and a prototype. What's unique about the car is that it's a single-seat racer like a Formula car but with covered wheels. This gives better aerodynamics than today's open-wheel Formula cars. In open-wheel cars, aerodynamic performance is compromised by the huge air turbulence created by the tires. For example, if the car is going at 300 km per hour, the tops of the rotating tires are exposed to air that's moving at around 600 km per hour, and you can imagine the crazy amount of air resistance this creates. But because the car has wheel covers that eliminate turbulences and improve airflow, this isn't a problem. On top of this, the cockpit is covered with a smooth, clear canopy like a jet fighter plane, making the car even more aerodynamic. The car is powered by a turbocharged V6 engine. This power plant was chosen for its compact size because of the priority placed on improving aerodynamics. And depending on the size of the turbo, this engine's output can easily reach around 1500 horsepower. The design of the machine's underbody follows Bernoulli's principle, which means very high ground effect, creating a large amount of downforce. This makes the car take corners at extremely high speeds. Thanks to great aerodynamics and horsepower, it can easily reach around 400 km per hour on a straightaway. Quite simply, this is a crazy racing car that's literally out of this world. So let's get going with our first lesson.
Sebastian Vettel's voice is also only used for the opening movie, and Gran Turismo 5 was not a one-and-done deal, as we'll be talking about Sebastian Vettel again later in the video. But like with Jeff, Sebastian Vettel was possibly supposed to play a larger role in his challenge, as data mining shows that there were scripts to appear in the game with Sebastian's voice, but they may have not been recorded as the audio does not seem to exist. This will not be the last time we talk about data mine voice clips going unused. In terms of other voice acting work, Sebastian Vettel voiced himself in the German version of Cars 2, taking on a short cameo role as Sebastian, or as we know him, Max Schnell, during the Tokyo race party.
Sebastian!
Hey, Lightning! Hast du schon mal so eine irre Party erlebt?
Now, those three racing drivers are the easy ones. They have special events named after them and their likeness is used in-game, so we know it's them. But we still have fittingly 5 names to go through for Gran Turismo 5. And these names are listed in the credits under voice actors. So I've had to do some detective work, but I'm pretty confident I know who's who. And 2 of them are definitely 100% obvious. So, sticking with these special events, let's move on to... The Top Gear Test Track special event takes place at the Top Gear Test Track, the very same one from the former British Motoring Show. And while Polyphony weren't able to pull in Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond or James May like Forza were able to, there is still an opening cutscene that outlines all the background on the Top Gear Test Track. And I'm fairly confident that this narration was performed by the late Henry Hope Frost. Henry was a Formula 1 broadcaster who passed away in 2018 in a road accident. And while it might only be a short piece, Henry gives a narrative delivery that feels like it's straight out of Top Gear. It's very satisfying to listen to, and you can feel the passion in his voice. Have a listen.
Welcome to the Top Gear Test Track, the base of the hugely popular British motoring TV show, Top Gear. You probably know all about the Top Gear track already, but let's go over some of the details anyway. It's located at Dunsfold Airfield in Surrey, UK, just 1 hour from London, and it's a short figure-of-8 track with a length of 2.82 kilometres. Because it's a very wide circuit based on an old airfield, first-time drivers will initially find it difficult to figure out which way the track goes, let alone find the racing line. Don't worry though, once you're racing, you'll soon figure it out by following the other drivers. One word of warning, however. As we said, it's a figure-of-8 track, which of course means that it crosses over itself halfway through the lap. This means that there's a danger of collision with other cars as you pass through the crossover. On a normal circuit, you only need to be aware of cars in front and behind you. But on the Top Gear track, you need to look right and left too. Don't forget that when you're out there. The track layout was designed with the assistance from engineers at Lotus, the legendary British sports car maker, with a view to including all types of high and low-speed corners to seriously test both car and driver. It's been used as the base for Top Gear since 2002, and F1 stars such as Michael Schumacher, Jenson Button, Lewis Hamilton and Mark Webber have all driven here while filming for the show. This is where the Top Gear's tame racing driver, the Stig, pushes the world's greatest cars to the limit. Good luck and enjoy the race. Well, British touring car star Andrew Jordan has been out for Goodwood Road and Racing. You may not know, but he's our official track tester, and he's driven a couple of monsters for us recently. He's been out in one of the fastest and most sexy 1960s sports cars, the Lola T70 Mark IIIB, with a massive Chevy V8 in the back.
From a side-by-side comparison, it's easy to tell that's Henry's voice. The casting choice was absolutely perfect, and I wish we had gotten to hear more from Henry in the Gran Turismo series. But now it's time to move on to the next special event that uses voiceover a little bit differently. The Gran Turismo Rally is a series of rally races with that Colin McRae dirt style of rally gameplay. Point-to-point racing, if you will, with your opponents starting off at intervals ahead of each other, with everyone's total time taken deciding who the winner is after the last stage. The event makes use of Gran Turismo 5's track editor, creating unique stages for the player to race on. But you are not alone, as you have a co-driver beside you. And this co-driver speaks. The audio is performed by Reid, who was the co-driver of the late rally driver Richard Burns, with the pair becoming WRC champions in 2001. Robert's voice was very easy to identify, as the co-driver in Gran Turismo 5 speaks with a Scottish accent, and Robert is Scottish. And as the format goes, here is some evidence of Robert's voice in-game and of him speaking too.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2 right, 900, 2 left long, 3 right, 150, 200, 3 left long, 7 right, 3 left, 300, 1 left long.
I think Richard always had, the drive, the ambition, and that's perhaps what attracted me to forming a partnership with him in the early days. He's always been very, very focused, and again, it's an experience thing. Yeah.
The cutting room floor also lists a lot of audio files that Robert recorded, which ultimately went unused. But there's also an American accent equivalent for all of them, which is used in the Japanese version. I don't know who this is, but going off of the Japanese voice actor credits, there are 2 English names, Peter Gomm and Josh. Just Josh. And while the focus of this video is the English versions of Gran Turismo 5 for Japan also includes car descriptions like in Gran Turismo 4, but with me having no access to the Japanese version of Gran Turismo 5, I can't give any more information about it. If enough people comment with information on the Japanese versions of any of the Gran Turismo games, I can definitely look at making a separate video looking at the voiceover performances specifically in the Japanese versions. But I will need your help with that. However, we will be touching on some of the Japanese performances later on in the Gran Turismo Sport part of this video. But for now, I will close the Gran Turismo Rally section by saying that I think it was a great idea to have a co-driver, and I love that they went with Robert for it. I think he did great. And as for the co-driver for the Japanese version, it sounds a little more acted out. Obviously, because they had a professional voice actor recording the lines. But let's take a listen to some of the data mine lines, and I will see you back in a few for the final special event.
Into, and, 7 right very long, 7 left very long, 7 left short, crest, up crest, down crest, flat crest, on crest, sharp crest, ditch, big gap, jump, maybe jump, up, down, rough, tarmac, gravel, snow, ice, water, slippy, narrow, wide, caution, double caution, triple caution, bridge, junction, cut, don't cut, open, close, dusty, hard to see, start, exit.
The final voiceover performance in the special events mode is that of Tony Jardine, the AMG Mercedes event at the Nürburgring. Tony is an English rally driver, motorsport pundit and former Formula 1 assistant team manager. Tony voices the demonstration replays of each challenge, like Vicki, Jay and Sophia, but he also adds some facts about the Nürburgring too.
Using the 1954 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Coupe, you will be tackling the first sector from the start-finish line to Arenberg, marked by the underpass. In the first half, after passing Hatzenbach, named after the river running alongside the course, you have a series of left and right corners. In order to get through this section in good time, you'll need a good rhythm to your steering and a driving line that utilises the full width of the course right up to the cornerstones. In the latter half is a dynamic high-speed section. Once you reach the hilltop, a roller coaster descent follows. The Flugplatz, and this translates to airport, at the top of the hill, was named after the glider runway to the side of the track. What is demanded of the driver here is not simply driving skill, it's more about their will to overcome fear. But this is just the beginning. The true Nürburgring is still waiting to show itself.
Lewis, welcome to Silverstone and welcome back to the track where you won the British Grand Prix in 2008. Here you are on the back of two 1-2s, Turkey, Canada. Can you make it a 1-2 at the British Grand Prix? And you're expecting specific developments for this high-speed track. Now, what about the atmosphere in the team itself building up to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone? After all, it's their home race too.
I will be honest, I had no idea where Tony's voice was used until I began making this video. I hadn't done any of the Gran Turismo 5 special events in like 10 years, and I don't remember ever watching the replay demonstrations either. So it was a huge relief to put the final name to a voice. And speaking of replays, let's move on to the license tests, as once again, they were narrated. The audio for the license test was performed by Justin Bell. Justin Bell is an English race driver who raced in the Le Mans series for many years, but also the Japanese Touring Car Championship as well as IndyCars. Relocating to the United States of America, Justin has been working in motorsport media since. Justin's voice is quite high-pitched and his accent is really thick, which helps to pin a name to the voice. See, when you've got an iconic voice, it comes in handy for things like this. Let's have a sample of Justin's voice for a comparison.
This test is intended for you to get a feel of a car's acceleration and braking. Start by launching the car and accelerating as quickly as possible. Then bring the car to a complete stop 200 meters ahead, inside the designated stopping zone. Your time will be measured up to the point when the car comes to a complete stop in the stopping zone. Please be cautious of overrunning the zone or going off course, as this will lead to disqualification. The car won't stop immediately. Make sure you get a feel of the braking distance from the point where you step on the brakes to where the car comes to a complete stop. The key is to pick a reference point and stomp the brake pedal. Also, improve your stopping time by not going too deep into the stopping zone.
For Jaguar to be, to go back into the two-seater, front-engine, rear-wheel drive sports car market is a statement that they, and when it came out, a year or so ago, you were like, all right, this is probably one of the most exciting shapes I've seen in a long time.
Justin narrates the license test audio for the NTSC U version of Gran Turismo 5. And for the PAL versions, Sophia Raafat is back.
Get used to how a car accelerates and brakes by bringing the car to a halt in the stopping area 200 meters down the track. The time will not stop until you have come to a complete standstill, and you will need to take care not to leave the track or overrun the stopping area, as both will result in instant failure. Cars don't stop immediately, so you need to take into account the braking distance, which is the distance from where you apply the brakes to where the car comes to a complete stop. It is useful to pick a visual reference point to help with your timing, and to fully and instantly apply the brakes when you start braking. If you want to get a better time, try to stop the car at the closer end of the stopping area.
Yes, Sophia is back for the English PAL version of Gran Turismo 5, once again narrating the license test the way she did before. And personally, Sophia's narration is my favourite. Maybe it's nostalgia talking, but I know Vicki and Jay are also very much like too. As I always say, nostalgia triumphs everything. So, to summarise Gran Turismo 5, Jeff Gordon, Sebastian Loeb and Sebastian Vettel all appear in both voice and likeness for their own special events. Robert Reid, being the only Scot, voices the co-driver in the PAL and NTSCU versions. Sophia Raafat, being the only woman to be listed in the English-speaking credits, once again narrates the license test demonstrations for the PAL version. Being based in the US, Justin Bell narrates the license test demonstrations in the NTSCU version. Tony and Henry both have distinct enough voices that we can identify Tony as voicing the Nürburgring challenges and Henry voicing the Top Gear intro. I also tried to find videos for reference that were taken around the late 2000s so that everyone sounded close to how they sound in Gran Turismo 5. While I do not know who voices the co-driver in the Japanese version, I did some research looking at projects Peter Gomm had voiced in, and found that the only Josh who appeared alongside him was Josh Keller. Josh Keller is probably best known for being the Tekken 7 announcer and Gunvolt in an Azure Striker Gunvolt OVA. His voice is a little deeper than Peter's, but they sound like they have a similar range. So it could be either or voicing the co-driver. And not knowing whereabouts their voices are used, I don't want to wrongly assume either, but with an educated guess, I am guessing that the mystery Josh is Josh Keller. And on a final note, Jeff Gordon's name is listed twice in the credits, first alongside Sebastian's Loeb and Vettel, and then with Justin. And as getting Gran Turismo 5 to work for the Justin footage was an absolute nightmare, I'm asking American players if you know where else Jeff's voice is used. And if I can find footage, I will make a short showcasing where else Jeff's voice is used in the NTSCU version, if he indeed does provide more voiceover. And finally, Gran Turismo 5's part is finished. Gran Turismo 5 could have been an entire video in and of itself. Now let's move on to Gran Turismo 6. Gran Turismo 6 was released in 2013, and despite being a later entry, it actually has less voice acting than Gran Turismo 5. But like Gran Turismo 5, Gran Turismo 6 has a voice actor credit. Both Sebastian Vettel and Sebastian Loeb are credited as voice actors. But I'm pretty sure there's no Sebastian Loeb events, unless they were online exclusive or something else. But I can't find any evidence of Sebastian Loeb's likeness in the game, so if there is and I've missed it, let me know down below. But Sebastian Vettel has another special event sequence using the Red Bull branded cars. During this challenge, Sebastian Vettel's in-game dialogue is narrated by himself, with an ending movie for completing the challenges too. There is more dialogue than in Gran Turismo 5, so let's check out some examples.
Hi, I'm Sebastian Vettel. Welcome to the Red Bull X Challenge. There are lots of different types of racing cars in the world, but this is the place where you will learn how to drive formula cars. Lightweight, high grip tires, downforce and quick response. In other words, you're going to drive cars that were created only for the purpose of racing. I hope you enjoy yourselves.
Small things like this just add so much love and character to the game, and I'm guessing it makes up for the unused content from Gran Turismo 5. However, there are still plenty of voice clips found on the cutting room floor that went unused for Gran Turismo 6, and a lot of these have a similar vibe to Jeff's unused clips, so let's have a listen.
The slightest steering input will cause the car to react. Wow! 500 kilometers per hour. Okay, looking good. Not bad. Remain calm. Careful. Uh-oh. Now you've done it. What are you doing? Can't see you, man. That was perfect. Congratulations. Hey, aren't you going a bit too fast? What the... something's wrong here. You like rubbing it in, don't you? Push it. Go, go, go! Brakes, 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 brakes! Full throttle, full gas. Alright, no problem. Let's give it another go.
The other voiceover name listed in the credits of Gran Turismo 6 falls under narration, and that name is Peter von Gomm. Yes, the same Peter von Gomm who voiced in the Japanese version of Gran Turismo 5. And Peter's voice is most likely used in Gran Turismo 6 for the lunar exploration missions. Here a voice is used through the mission telling the player where to go when they hit a checkpoint and once the mission is completed, or as they hit cones in the final mission. Let's have a listen to some of those examples.
Start the mission. Passing checkpoint. Survey of St. George Crater complete. Return to base. Good. Okay. Head to the next target. Heading to new target. Go on and head to the next target. Mission complete.
Peter's voice definitely captures that classic style they were going for. It feels very old school, radio style, and it just adds so much character to the mission, just making you feel like you were actually back there in 1969. The final place voiceover is used in Gran Turismo 6 is for the Sierra Time Rally event. The player has to get around the very long Sierra track passing through checkpoints to increase their time, while also overtaking cars to build their score. During the challenge, a voiceover will play, saying things like,
"Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Start. Overtake. Time extended. Jump bonus."
throughout the challenge. Unfortunately, I don't know who this is. I'm guessing it is an English-speaking voice actress living in Japan. But who she is, I can't make any guesses. The cutting room floor also shows us that this voice was initially going to be different. While the final version is a little more energetic and playful, the original is much more stoic and a little deeper. Here they are for comparison.
Time extended. Time extended. Overtake. Overtake. Jump. Jump bonus. Game over. Game over. Speed trap. Speed trap.
I don't know if it's the same woman just redoing them with different direction, or if it's someone else. But either way, I like the final version more. Feels kind of like a sat-nav voice. Voiceover could certainly have been used in other aspects of Gran Turismo 6. Like how Sebastian Vettel narrated his lines, there's plenty of text to read through during a first playthrough, packed with tons of information that could have been narrated. And while there's no demonstration replays like in the older games, those could have been narrated too if they were added. So all in all, Gran Turismo 6 still uses voiceover, and for the better I would say, it adds to the overall experience in a positive way when it is used. And it's a shame that it wasn't incorporated more. So with Gran Turismo 6's part now concluded, we move on to Gran Turismo Sport.
Okay, information for Gran Turismo Sport is very limited. Releasing in 2017, once again voiceover credits are listed in the game. And we have 3 names to work with. 2 Japanese and 1 English. We'll start with the English first, since there's not too much to go on. Tom Brooks, a British motorsport commentator, narrated a race etiquette video for online play that was taken down when the servers for Gran Turismo Sport were shut down. He did return for Gran Turismo 7 with an updated script, so let's check out what he sounds like.
What is sportsmanship? Welcome to the Racing Etiquette. In this section, you will be learning about sportsmanship, an important element in everyone's participation in the online races of Gran Turismo. The history of sports is as old as human history, and the definition of sports is said to be as numerous as there are researchers in the field. But when you get to the bottom of it, a sport is a challenge against yourself, a challenge against a rival, and above all else is something to enjoy and have fun with. A sport is something you enjoy together with others. For this, there is sportsmanship, the attitude you must have when you partake in a sport. So, what is sportsmanship? Everyone knows that all sports have rules. And of course, one element of sports is that you must follow the rules. But even if you set lots of detailed rules, you can't judge all incidents during an actual sport just with rules. That's where sportsmanship becomes important. Sportsmanship can also be called the spirit of fair play. And in addition to being fair and just, sportsmanship also means that you don't do things that make you look bad. To avoid doing things to anyone that makes you look bad. That's the core idea behind sportsmanship that is beyond rules. Motorsport is called a non-contact sport. That means it is a sport which does absolutely not allow contact with others. But in order to achieve this, it is not enough to have a strict set of rules. It is extremely important that everyone works to avoid doing things that make you look bad.
Various examples of improper driving. Let's talk about some examples of unsportsmanlike behaviour and actions you shouldn't do on track. applying the brakes too late, leading to a rear-end collision. Overshooting the corner because you were too late on the brakes and failed to overtake the car in front. Worst of all is dive bombing, where a driver is unable to stop within track limits and rams into other cars, ruining the race for themselves as well as their opponents. Even keeping these points in mind, you may end up becoming too overzealous during a race, braking too late and on your way to collide with the car ahead of you. In these cases, you should not only hit the brakes, but you should also do everything in your power to avoid the car in front, even if that means taking your car off the track. These are mistakes that often happen amongst beginners, so it's best to be cautious when starting out. Set clear braking targets for reference, so you know exactly where to apply the brakes on the track. Also, weaving back and forth, edging out others, pushing others off the track are all examples of improper driving. Leave at least one car width between your own car and your opponent's, even during close encounters. If you are new to online racing, begin by assessing the situation to avoid impeding others. In doing this, you will gradually develop an awareness of your surroundings. Next, how can you protect yourself from these types of accidents? During a race, it is not easy to communicate your intentions to the other drivers, but by monitoring the other cars around you, you will begin to understand the tendencies of each car and driver and their skills. If you feel that a driver is being a bit dangerous, or that they are not yet used to their car's behaviour, then think about positioning yourself accordingly so that you can avoid any incidents that may develop. And finally, a time penalty may be issued in online races for the following reasons. Track cutting. Crossing the white line when entering or leaving the pit. Colliding with another car. Time penalties received for such instances are served at designated penalty lines on the track, where the car automatically slows down. If you do receive a penalty, make sure to give way as much as possible so that you do not impede the other cars. Thank you for adhering to these guidelines and helping maintain an enjoyable online racing experience for all.
My brother can confirm that not much people actually paid attention to it, but Tom's delivery was spot on for how a safety etiquette video should be. Now going with the Japanese names. Let's start with Rie Takahashi. Rie is a popular Japanese voice actress appearing in plenty of anime and video games. Rie's voice was used for the driving school demonstrations, and it seems these demonstration videos were taken down alongside Tom's video. But lucky for us, someone did actually record Rie's voice from Gran Turismo Sport, and while it is only the audio, let's take a listen.
アクセルを踏み、車を発進させてゴールまで走ってみましょう。ゴール到達のタイムによって金、銀、銅の3段階のトロフィーを獲得できます。いいタイムを出すにはステアリングは切らず、ゴールまでまっすぐ走ることが大切です。レッスン6と同じ200メートルの発進、停止によりパワフルな車で挑戦してみましょう。パワーがある車だと同じ距離でもさらに速度が上がるので、より手前からブレーキングを行う必要があります。コース脇の黄色いパイロンの位置を目印にブレーキングのタイミングを探りましょう。ここからはコーナーを曲がること、つまりコーナリングの練習に入ります。これまで同様に車を発進させ、コーナーを抜けてゴールを目指してください。速く走るポイントは アクセル全開のままステアリング操作に集中すること。コースアウトしないようにステアリングを切るタイミングと切る量をうまく調節しましょう。
Rie's voice is very soft-spoken, very breathy, very anime, if you catch my drift, but a completely different direction to what we hear in English. And for our final voice for Gran Turismo Sport, you may have saw her name on screen earlier in the video, but we have one of the most recurring voice actors in the entirety of the Gran Turismo series, Houko Kuwashima. Houko's voice has been used in the Gran Turismo series all the way back, starting with Gran Turismo PSP. And just like Rie, Houko is a very prolific voice actress in anime and video games. And although we don't have any footage for Gran Turismo Sport, let's listen to Houko's voice from the other entries in the series.
グランツーリスモの世界へようこそ。まずはミッションモードに進んでドライビングの腕を磨きましょう。アクセルとブレーキの感覚を覚えましょう。車を発進させて100メートル先の停止エリアで停車させてください。このミッションではブレーキをどこから踏み始めるかが重要になります。停止エリアまでの距離を示す標識など何かを目印にして一気にブレーキをかけましょう。アクセルとブレーキの感覚を覚えましょう。車を発進させて200メートル先の停止エリア内に停車させてください。停止エリア内に完全に静止するまでタイムはカウントされていきます。また、停止エリアをオーバーランしたり、コースアウトしてしまうと失格になるので注意してください。車はすぐには止まりません。ブレーキを踏み始めて完全に停止するまでの制動距離を感覚で覚えましょう。ポイントは何かを目印にして一気にブレーキングを開始することです。また、タイムを縮めるためには停止エリアのできるだけ手前に停車させることを心がけると良いでしょう。
Houko's voice is very similar to Rie's, high-pitched and cute, I would say, but very nice to listen to, and both women did a fantastic job. And I guess to keep with the Japanese theme of this section, the voice actress for Gran Turismo 4 Prologue currently remains a mystery. Gran Turismo 4 Prologue didn't have credits in the traditional sense, and the woman who recorded the driving school demonstrations has a different sounding voice from Houko. So let's jump back to Gran Turismo 4 Prologue and hear what she sounds like. And if you know who she is, let us know down below.
グランツーリスモ4プロローグ最初のレッスンへようこそ。レッスンの会場となるのはコンパクトに設計された練習用のサーキットドライビングパークビギナーコースです。この小さなコースをゆっくりと2周するというのがこのレッスンの内容です。車には時速50キロ以上は出ないような特別な仕掛けがしてあります。また制限時間も十分に長く設定してありますから、スピードやタイムのことは一切気にせずのんびりドライブしてみましょう。どんなにゆっくりでも構わないから、とにかくコースアウトしないように走ってみることが大事。コースアウトしたら失格ですよ。焦らず急がず観光気分でドライブしてください。コースにはこのラインの通りに走るとスムーズに走ることができるお手本の走行ラインが表示されています。この走行ラインに沿って走るとサーキットを走るときに大事なテクニックの一つ、ライン取りを体験することができます。どうしてこういうラインで走るとスムーズなんだろうと考えながら走ってみましょう。走りながら気をつけてほしいのはステアリングを切る速さと切る量です。そんなにぐるぐる回さなくてもコーナーを曲がっていけることを覚えておいてくださいね。ステアリングはゆっくりと、そして必要最小限だけ回す。それがこのレッスンのポイントです。それでは最初のレッスン頑張ってください。
So, back to sport. Not as much English voiceover in Gran Turismo Sport, but more so in Japanese. Although my brother is sure that there were at least replay demonstrations in the English version, but he doesn't know if they were voiced. So if you can remember them existing or being voiced, let us know below. And so now it is time to move on to the final entry in this video, Gran Turismo 7.
Releasing in 2022, Gran Turismo 7 does have championship commentators listed, but I'm sure these are for the live events and not the in-game championships. But if I'm wrong, I stand corrected, and as such, that kind of commentary does not count for this video, but I'll give it a shout out here. As my sister said, there is once again a race etiquette video that is narrated by Tom Brooks, and that's it. No more voiceover. But ending on that bombshell isn't any fun, so let's go over where voiceover could have been used in Gran Turismo 7, such as for the characters. This is the first Gran Turismo game to have fictional people in the game, such as characters like Sarah and all the cafe people. And I'm not really a cafe fan, but I would have been more behind it if they had treated it like an audiobook, and had actual voiceovers record the characters' in-game dialogue. This obviously would take a substantial amount of work, and as Gran Turismo 7 is a live service game that has been frequently updated since it was released, with more characters and conversations and of course cars being added since it was released, they'd have to record all the new lines if that was a feature. And to be honest, I don't think there's any kind of demand for an audio feature like that. And if there was a feature like that, I could picture it being a Japanese exclusive like with Gran Turismo 4 and possibly Gran Turismo 5 as well. But even taking all that away, I think it would have been cool if the World Series drivers had recorded the messages they give before races and whatnot. Like with Sebastian Loeb, they could have done so in their own languages. It would have obviously taken a lot of time and money to do so, and some of them might not feel comfortable doing it, but I'm just throwing ideas out here. Demonstrations still exist for things like the license tests, so they could have had audio descriptions like Gran Turismo games of the past, but they did not. Instead, the World Series drivers instruct you on what to do for the license test demonstrations. I don't know, personally I prefer the audio description because I'm dyslexic, and I prefer to learn from audio as opposed to reading. Also, there is a driver assistance video too in the license test mode that has some information that's just text, and that also could have been narrated. But I guess for now, Gran Turismo 7 will stay mostly mute, with the loudest voice acting being the engine sounds of the cars. And so there we have it, the history of English voice acting in the Gran Turismo series. While voiceover is not going to really impact the Gran Turismo games, I think it definitely adds a little touch to make the games even more special, especially with Gran Turismo 5, adding real-life race drivers to give us their knowledge in their field of racing. And for me personally, not just as a voice actor myself, but as a fan of video games, I've always had an interest in voiceover from when I was really young, and even if nobody watches this video, I had so much fun making it. And I want to thank my sister for lending her voice to this video too. The total script is over 5,000 words for this video, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time!